Shalom, ladies, and welcome to week 47 of Coffee and Connection. I'm excited to be here with all of you. I have my coffee. I feel all connected to all of you. It's so good to see you all. Welcome. And welcome to everyone who's listening to the replay. Of course, it's always I love hearing from you, knowing, women message me all the time to let me know that they're listening to the recordings. It's always great to hear from you, hear your questions, and hear what comes up for you as you're listening to the episodes. So this week's topic is really important for a few reasons. Those of you in America, I know some of you have like big Thanksgiving things, which is really weird for me as a Canadian because it's just a weird concept for us. It was never something that we did in our community. And then we have Hanukkah, and Hanukkah comes with its family parties and tiulim and outings and just family time. And there's so many. I would say like this, the biggest issue is that we have so many like hopes, we have expectations, we have desires for our family time together. And often there is also frustrations, right? Like things don't go the way we wanted them to. We put in a lot of work and then the kids are fighting and things don't go as planned and, people are annoying and maybe you're getting together with extended family and you have to deal with parents and in-laws and siblings and all this stuff that can be challenging and stressful if in certain circumstances. So how do we handle it? What I want to give you my best tips for really enjoying your family time, really being able to enjoy the experience of being with your family. And that is the most important thing. I would say that when we want to enjoy family time and we want our family time to be something that our family actually looks forward to, right? When we want family time, sorry, 1 second, to be something that isn't like oh, I have to get together with my family. Oh, I have to spend time, we're all getting together, or oh, I have to go on a trip with my parents. Instead of it being something that is like an obligation that everyone in the family has to, you know, deal with, to be something that everyone looks forward to be something that becomes a positive tradition, whether it's in your immediate family or in an extended family. And so the very first tip that I would give is to really make the experience, make the goal, set the intention to be around having a good experience, right? That the intention is to have a positive time together, to enjoy our time together, as opposed to focusing on the activity or some type of goal that you may have for the day or the night or whatever it is. So, for example, let's say you're going on a trip with the kids, instead of it being like, we have to get to the museum at this time, or we have to get to the hike at that time, or we have to, get to boobies and Zeta or sub and saftas before a certain time or whatever it is. And instead of focusing too much on the events or the actual place that you're going, instead of focusing on that or focusing too much on the itinerary, focus more on the experience, right? It's something that comes up all the time whenever we're going on a family trip. We've like planned out our time and planned out our days, and we can plan for like 3 or 4 things, and very often we'll only get to like 1 or 2 of them. And that may be because the kids want to sleep in, or we end up having to go to the bathroom a million times. The kids want to spend more time sitting by the water, or we end up getting lost somewhere, or, everyone's hungry, or we go for ice cream, or whatever it is. And if you have a strict schedule that you need to, adhere to, that's going to make it very stressful when any of those things happen. If the intention is we're going to have a good time together, right? The intention is the experience together, then whatever happens, right? Whether you're late, whether people are sleeping in, whether you got to keep stopping for food and snacks and bathrooms and all of that, it doesn't matter, because you're together. You're already in that experience. You're already enjoying it together, no matter what you're doing. And that can really make a big difference in the experience, even if it's like a Hanukkah party, right? Let's say you're having a Hanukkah party again, whether it's just with you and your kids or with your extended family, and you're thinking like, okay, we're going to eat at this time. Maybe we're going to play a game. We're going to, the kids are going to do this. We're going to, and then, well, this kid doesn't feel like playing dreidel, and that kid is sleeping on the couch, and someone else is like, I want to be the one to make the latkes or whatever. I don't want to help or whatever. If we get all tied up and like, wait, no, this isn't the way I wanted it to be. This doesn't go according to our expectations or according to the itinerary. Even if it's not going according to that happy Hanukkah that we want it to be, right? The intention is in the positivity, in the experience, that we're enjoying it how we can. We are here, we're together, and even if the kids are fighting, even if, people are doing what they're doing, and we'll get to that soon, you're focusing on that opportunity to be together. And I always share, as my mother always says, that when we used to go on vacation, she used to think, why are we doing this? The kids are always fighting. We'd go on these long car rides and we were all fighting. And we don't remember the fighting. We remember the having a good time together, right? Thank God. And I see the same thing with my kids. And, sometimes I think like they're just fighting. It's becoming, there's so much stress. But in the end of the day, what they remember is the experience. And the more we can relate to it in that way, the more we can be like, great, we're together, we're doing what, that's the goal. If we have to change plans, whatever it is, we're focused on the positive experience as opposed to any other itinerary or expectation that we may have for the day. With that being said, I'm going to say that my number 2 piece of advice would be like, have some plan, right? Probably like the worst family days are those days that you're like, yeah, we're going to go on a teal tomorrow. We're going to go on a trip. And then everybody wakes up and it's like, where are we going? I don't know. What should we do? Let's start looking for something on the internet. Let's message our friends who are tour guides and ask them what we should do. Let's try to think of like what would be a fun thing to do. Oh, we need a bus. Okay, what times? And like without like really planning it out in advance. The same thing could be for like a family party. If you're having everyone over, well, do you have a rough time of when you're planning to feed everyone, or an activity that you could do, even, if the kids get rowdy or bored, right? And again, it's not about, don't forget number 1, it's not about being stuck to that itinerary, but it is also about making sure that we have some thought that we've already put into it as to what could, to give it some structure, right? To give it some form of like, we're not just sitting around and doing nothing. Even if it's like, okay, we're going to light and then the kids will play dreidel, we'll make some latkes, that's fine. But then we should already like have the, ingredients on hand, not have to be like, okay, now we need to go to the store. Oh, okay. Like, do we know where the dreidels are? Like we've sat down to play dreidel before and we have no idea where there's dreidels. We're like searching they're always there all year, except for when you're actually ready to play and then having to call neighbors. And so it's good to like have some type of plan, some type of idea of what you're going to do, and to be prepared so that it's not like you're just winging it, right? This reminds me of like when COVID started and we were home with the kids all the time. There was no school at all. And my biggest piece of advice that I was giving to women at the time was make like a hourly schedule, but then don't be too like strict with it, right? Like give the kids some form of structure so they don't feel like there's nothing to do today, but then also understand that like you're not always going to stick to it. And that seems to be that balance between those two pieces can really make a difference in how we experience our time with our kids, right? We need to be flexible. We have to understand that we're all people and we all have our stuff that we're dealing with. At the same time, people like a little bit of structure. They like to feel like there's something planned, even if we're not going to actually do it, right? But we have the plan. So we know that some thoughts gone into it. We know that there is something we could do if that is going to work out. So it may sound a little bit like they're contradicting each other, but it really having both in mind, right? Doing a little bit of planning, but a little bit, not like over structuring it, right? Like if you start deciding, for your Hanukkah party, you're going to plan like 50 games and expect everyone to sit down nicely and answer all these questions. It's likely not going to happen. The same thing as trying to fit in 10 things to your family fun day, right? And having something on hand, like, well, at some point we're going to get food. Well, what are you going to go? Where are you going to eat? What are you going to have? Right? Do we need to bring snacks? Should we plan, according a timetable so that we're near a place that we can go get food? Should we bring sandwiches? Like some form of planning can be really helpful with the flexibility of also knowing that, like, we can go with it and roll with it and see what happens. Understanding that, we're all people, we're all humans. And that kind of brings me to my third point, which is another really important thing in general whenever we're hanging out with family, which is not being shocked by the things that stress us out. So let's say that, like, you have two kids who, like, are always fighting, right? Then when those two kids start fighting, instead of it being like, oh my gosh, they're fighting again, I don't know what to do with them, that's where we have the opportunity to be like, okay, I knew they were going to fight, right? There's the fight. Now let's move on with the rest of the night, right? It doesn't have to become a focus. It doesn't have to become this, oh my goodness, it just ruins the whole night kind of thing, because you knew it was going to happen, right? And maybe it won't happen, but when it does happen, we don't have to be shocked, right? Same thing if, like, you tell all the kids to go to the bathroom and then 5 minutes after you're on the road, someone says, I have to pee, right? Or maybe it's you. Who knows? So not to be like, oh my gosh, this is so annoying, or we're stuck in traffic. Like, we know that's going to happen. We know someone's going to have to go to the bathroom. We know we're going to get stuck in traffic likely. We know that probably somebody is going to be late, right? Or this relative is going to say that thing that they always say, or this person's going to do that thing they always do. That kid's going to be complaining or sleeping on the couch or wanting to take care of everything. When we bring some of that, like, acceptance in, right? It can help deal so much with any kind of stress that may kind of then come in and block, that safe, fun time that we're looking to have, right? So with this idea, it can be really powerful, because especially if we're used to getting upset, if usually the kids see us getting stressed by those kinds of things, then when all of a sudden that happens and we're just like, okay, no big deal, we're really setting an example of, like, that ability to accept and deal with stress and move on, right? As opposed to when we get really caught up in those issues, sometimes we get more caught up in the things that we already knew were going to happen, right? Like, I can't believe it happened again. And yet, when we can kind of we know it's going to happen, we because it always does, then we don't have to get, so caught up in it, so bothered by it, so upset about it, so stressed out, right? And we can really just sit back and enjoy the experience, really enjoy being together with our family, with our kids, with, our husbands, whoever it is that we're spending that special time with. The same thing goes with husbands, right? Like, in general, we want to be careful to stay out of any kind of self-fulfilling prophecies. And so we do it less with husbands and with the rest of our family, especially family we don't see very much. But the same thing can happen if you have in your mind that, like, we're going to have this really calm, amazing, beautiful, singing Hanukkah, and yet, like, every year your husband, like, isn't really into singing, or he kind of stays late in shul or he stays at work late before he comes home for candle lighting, or if he likes to sing a lot, and you're like, can we just go to dinner, right? Can we eat? And instead of getting frustrated by it again and being like, oh my gosh, again, you're still not coming home for lighting on time. You're still not singing. You're still making us sing all the songs. Like, can we, instead of being like, okay, like this is him. This is what he likes to do, or this is how it is, right? This is how it is right now, right? And that way it doesn't have to bring up all this angst, all this stress in us of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening again. Instead, it's like, okay, there it is. There's that thing that I know is going to happen. There's that thing that I knew was probably going to happen because it's happened every other year. And so let me just move on with the night and make it enjoyable in other ways, right? So if, let's say, you like to, have a nice experience, but your husband comes home late, okay, how can I create that experience I want to have so that when he comes home, I can happily welcome him and say, "Great, you're home," like, let's keep going. But you weren't waiting for him and creating that frustration, every moment that he doesn't walk in. Or if you would like it if everybody eats right after lighting and he wants to sit and learn first, or he wants to play dreidel, or he wants to go get some other stuff done. Be like, okay, so while he's doing that, what do I want to do, right? Let me focus again on the experience that I want to have. And then I can stay in that positive state for whenever he wants to join. Or if he wants to do all that stuff and I'm like, I just want to sit by the candles and kind of chill for a little bit. I like to take my half hour of just sitting on the couch and maybe saying some Tehillim or just resting, just chilling out by the candles. You want to do the other stuff. You want to eat something. Okay, try to have something ready. Or if not, just like, no, like, know that I'm going to do what is going to give, like, focus on the experience that I want to have, and give space for everyone to also do things in their way. Right. And also, this all comes together to this idea of like, remember that your intention of what you want the night to look like, what you want the week to look like, what you want the weekend to look like, right? Based on what you're focused on in this moment. Remember that everyone else might not have the same vision. Other people may not, including your husband, your kids, your parents, whoever it is. They may have other priorities or other expectations or pictures of what they want it to be like. So sometimes you can talk about it and try to, build it together. But it's also important to remember that just because we have our vision and they have their vision, it's not like we have to convince them of our vision, right? Because our vision is our vision and their vision is theirs. And it's, even if it's different, it doesn't make it wrong. It just makes it different. Right. So that can be also really powerful, realizing that your picture of how Hanukkah should be, or what Thanksgiving should look like, is not necessarily what other people are looking for it to be like. And making space for that, right? Making space for the experiential experience, making space for the reality that not everybody is, on the same page as we are. Making space for the fact that not everyone's going to act the way we want them to act is what can really allow it to be a connecting experience, because we're letting go. We're letting go of our expectations. We're letting go of our shoulds. We're letting go of our, like, like tunnel vision of, it needs to be this way or something's wrong. When we can let go of that, and we can flow in the experience and just be open to, like, this is how to focus more on a feeling than an expectation. I want it to feel loving. I want it to feel safe. I want it to feel fun, right? Then we can look at, okay, so how can I bring that? How can I bring that into the experience without needing anyone else to really needing anyone else to create that for me. So if I want it to be fun, maybe I can put on some music. Maybe I can, sip on some wine. Maybe I can just enjoy the experience. If I want it to be loving, I can sit and look to really connect with the people around me. If I want it to be safe, I can look to create an experience where people feel accepted and happy, that I'm happy they're there. So I'm focusing on myself and the experience and how I want the night to be or the day to be experienced instead of focusing on a specific image or expectation of how I want everybody else to be. Right. So we're really focusing, as always, focusing on ourselves, focusing on the women that we want to be, focusing on the ability that we have to create a positive energy or to, just be in our feminine essence and let go of all the shoulds and instead enjoy the experience in with the intention of what it is we really want to be experiencing. So I look forward to seeing you again on Hanukkah, Be'ezrat Hashem, and I wish you a really Hanukkah Sameach. It should be filled with love and light and happiness and joy, and we should just see Hashem's miracles in our lives every day and be able to feel connected not just to our families but to Him and always and to ourselves. So until, if anyone has any specific other questions that they would like to be answered over the next few weeks, as always, don't forget to let me know. And I look forward to seeing you next week, Bezrat Hashem, on Hanukkah. And until then, may we all be blessed to live, love, and be loved with all our hearts. Goodbye for now.